The planet Haven was a jewel in the vastness of space. It floated quietly in the Andromeda galaxy, far from Earth, but close to humanity's dreams. Haven wasn't just another colony. It was a place where people lived peacefully, worked together, and shared ideas. The Enclave had lush green fields, towering cities made of glass, and skies that shimmered with two suns. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when everyone worked as one. Daniel Carter, the leader of Haven, often walked through the streets of the capital city. He greeted farmers, scientists, and children playing in the parks. Daniel believed in peace. For years, he worked hard to build friendships with nearby alien species. Trade flourished, knowledge was shared, and Haven became known as a place where everyone was welcome. But no one knew that danger was hiding just beyond the stars. Rachel Myers spent most of her days staring at the sky. She wasn't daydreaming. She was working. Rachel was an astrophysicist, and her job was to watch for anything unusual in space. From her station on Haven's orbital observatory, she studied stars, planets, and asteroids. One evening, while reviewing data, something caught her eye. A cluster of objects was moving toward Haven at incredible speed. At first, she thought they were meteors, but something about their pattern felt wrong. Rachel alerted Daniel immediately. He listened carefully as she explained what she had seen. Together, they contacted Haven's defense team. The Enclave wasn't completely unprotected. It had shields and weapons, but nothing like what Earth used. Still, everyone hoped it wouldn't come to that. Haven was a peaceful place, not a battlefield. Hours passed, and the objects grew closer. Then, without warning, the sky lit up with fire. The attackers arrived, a fleet of strange ships unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They were sleek and black, covered in glowing veins that pulsed like living organisms. These weren't ordinary ships. They seemed part machine, part creature. And they showed no mercy. Haven's defenses tried to hold them back, but it was useless. The attackers fired beams of energy that tore through the shields like paper. Explosions rocked the planet below. Cities crumbled, forests burned, and thousands of lives were lost in moments. Daniel gave orders to evacuate, but there wasn't enough time. The attackers moved too quickly, striking every target with precision. Rachel watched in horror from the observatory as the destruction unfolded. Her hands trembled as she sent out a distress signal to Earth. "This is Rachel Meyer on Haven," she said into the microphone. "We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Please send help." Tears streamed down her face as she realized how hopeless the situation was. The attackers didn't stop until there was nothing left. By the time Earth received the message, Haven was gone. All that remained was ash and silence. The attackers left behind only one thing, a single transmission. It played over and over in Rachel's mind as she floated alone in the wreckage of the observatory. The voice was cold and mechanical. "You are not welcome here." Back on Earth, the news hit like a thunderstorm. People gathered around screens, watching footage of Haven's destruction. Fear spread across the planet. Who were these attackers? Why did they destroy Haven? Would Earth be next? President Laura Bennett stood before cameras, her expression serious but determined. "Today we mourn the loss of Haven," she said. "But let this tragedy remind us of who we are. We are humans. We do not give up. We will rebuild, we will fight, and we will ensure that no one else suffers like this again." As she spoke, plans were already being made. Humanity would answer this act of terror, not with fear, but with strength. Little did anyone know, the response would change the galaxy forever. The loss of Haven shocked the entire world. For days, people on Earth talked about nothing else. News channels showed images of the destroyed planet over and over again. Families cried for loved ones who had been on Haven. Scientists tried to understand what kind of ships could cause so much damage. Governments held emergency meetings, trying to figure out what to do next. But this time, humanity didn't argue or hesitate. Instead, something incredible happened. Everyone came together. Countries that had once fought each other now shared resources. Factories that used to make cars and phones began building weapons and spaceships. Engineers, scientists, and workers from all over the globe joined forces. They called it Project Exodus. Its goal was simple: build a fleet so powerful that no one could ever harm humanity again. At the center of this massive effort was Emma Thompson. She was a young engineer with sharp eyes and endless energy. Emma had always loved solving problems, and now she faced the biggest challenge of her life. Her job was to design faster, stronger ships that could travel across galaxies. Working day and night, she created engines that could move at speeds no one thought possible. Her designs became the backbone of the new fleet. Emma worked closely with Lieutenant William Drake, a pilot known for his bravery and skill. William had flown missions in space before, but this was different. He wasn't just flying one ship. He was helping train thousands of pilots to handle the new vessels. Every day, he pushed himself and others to be better. "We don't have time to fail," he often said. "If we lose, there won't be a second chance." While Emma and William focused on building and training, another group worked to understand the attackers. Intelligence teams studied the transmission sent by the mysterious fleet. The message, "You are not welcome here," was chilling, but it didn't explain much. Who were these beings? Where did they come from? Why did they attack Haven? Rachel Meyer, the astrophysicist who survived the destruction of Haven, played a key role in finding answers. After being rescued from the wreckage, she joined a team of linguists and scientists. Together, they analyzed every piece of data from Haven's final moments. Rachel spent hours staring at strange symbols found in the attacker's signal. Slowly, she began to recognize patterns. It was like learning a new language, except this one felt alien and cold. One evening, Rachel made a breakthrough. She discovered fragments of words hidden within the signal. They weren't human, but they hinted at something terrifying: a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity. This race saw humans as weak and unworthy. To them, Haven's destruction wasn't an act of war, it was an act of cleansing. As the weeks turned into months, the scale of Project Exodus grew beyond anyone's imagination. By the time the fleet was ready, it numbered 700,000 ships. Each vessel was equipped with cutting-edge technology designed by Emma and her team. Soldiers trained endlessly under William's guidance. Civilians volunteered to join the mission, determined to honor those lost on Haven. General Samuel Hayes, the man chosen to lead the fleet, stood before the assembled crowd on launch day. His voice echoed through the speakers as he addressed the men and women preparing to leave Earth. "Today we carry the hopes of humanity with us," he said. "We go not just to fight, but to protect. We go not just to survive, but to thrive." The fleet launched in waves, filling the sky with light. For the first time in months, there was a sense of hope. Humanity had risen from tragedy, united and ready to face whatever lay ahead. But deep down, everyone knew the hardest battles were still to come. The journey to Haven's ruins felt long and heavy. The fleet, called the United Stellar Armada, USA, stretched across space like a river of stars. Each ship carried soldiers, scientists, and civilians, all bound by a shared purpose: to uncover the truth about the attackers and honor those who had died. Among them was Rachel Meyer, who sat quietly in her cabin aboard the flagship Eclipse *. Her mind raced with questions. Who were these beings? Why did they see humanity as unworthy? She clutched a small notebook filled with alien symbols, determined to find answers. Admiral Patricia Lewis commanded the fleet from the bridge of the Eclipse *. A tall woman with sharp features and calm eyes, she inspired confidence in everyone around her. As the ships approached the coordinates of Haven, tension filled the air. Crew members whispered among themselves, wondering what they would find. Would the attackers return? Was it safe to go near the ruins? When the fleet finally arrived, the scene was haunting. What was once a thriving planet was now a field of debris floating silently in space. Pieces of buildings, shattered glass, and chunks of metal drifted aimlessly. It was hard to believe that Haven had ever existed. Rachel stared out the window, her heart aching. She had called this place home, and now it was gone. The crew began scanning the area, looking for clues. Emma Thompson's technology allowed them to detect faint traces of energy left behind by the attacker ships. These readings confirmed what they feared. The biomechanical vessels were unlike anything humans had ever encountered. They seemed alive, almost like living creatures fused with machines. The thought sent shivers down Rachel's spine. As the fleet moved closer, something unexpected happened. The attackers reappeared. Without warning, millions of black ships emerged from the darkness, surrounding the USA. Their glowing veins pulsed faster, as if they were angry. Alarms blared across the fleet, and Admiral Lewis gave the order to prepare for battle. The fight was intense. The attackers fired beams of energy that cut through space like lightning. Ships on both sides exploded in bursts of fire and smoke. Pilots maneuvered their vessels with skill, dodging attacks while firing back. William Drake led a squadron of fighters, his voice steady over the comms as he guided his team. "Stay sharp," he said. "We can't let them break through." Despite the chaos, humanity's new technology held its own. Emma's engines allowed ships to move faster than the attackers expected, and her shields absorbed most of the enemy's blows. But the numbers were overwhelming. For every attacker destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The USA was outmatched. Rachel watched the battle unfold from the Eclipse asterisk. Her hands trembled as she tried to focus on the alien language she had been studying. If she could decipher more of their messages, maybe she could find a way to stop them. Then, amid the noise and destruction, she noticed something strange. The attackers' signals contained patterns, almost like commands. Could they be controlled or reasoned with? Just when it seemed the USA would be overrun, Admiral Lewis made a bold decision. She ordered a retreat, but not before launching probes into the enemy formation. These devices collected valuable data, giving humanity a deeper understanding of their foe. As the fleet pulled back, Rachel felt a mix of relief and frustration. They had survived, but at what cost? And how long could they keep running? Back aboard the Eclipse asterisk, Admiral Lewis addressed the crew. "Today proved one thing," she said. "We are strong, but we need more than strength to win this war. We need knowledge." Her words echoed in Rachel's mind. Knowledge was power, and Rachel vowed to unlock every secret the attackers held. Whatever it took, she would help humanity fight back. And this time, they wouldn't lose. After the battle, the fleet retreated to a safe distance. The ships were damaged, and the crew was exhausted, but they had survived. Admiral Patricia Lewis called a meeting in the Eclipse's command center. Scientists, engineers, and military leaders gathered around a large table, their faces tense with worry. The room buzzed with quiet conversations as everyone waited for the meeting to begin. Rachel Meyer stood at the front of the room, holding a tablet filled with data from the probes. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice was steady. "We've analyzed the information we collected," she began. "The attackers call themselves the Vorthax." She paused, letting the name sink in. "They're not just machines or aliens. There's something in between. Their ships are alive, and so are they." The room fell silent. Rachel continued, explaining what she had learned. The Vorthax were an ancient race, far older than humanity. They believed in perfection, strength, order, and logic above all else. To them, emotions like love, creativity, and compassion were flaws. These flaws made other species weak, and the Vorthax saw it as their duty to destroy such imperfections. Humanity, with its diversity and adaptability, was a threat to their vision of the galaxy. Emma Thompson listened carefully, her mind racing. If the Vorthax were so advanced, how could humanity possibly defeat them? She glanced at William Drake, who sat quietly in the corner. His usual confidence seemed shaken, but he still nodded when Rachel finished speaking. "This changes everything," he said. "If they think we're flawed, then fighting them head-on might not work. We need another way." Admiral Lewis agreed. "We can't win this war with brute force alone," she said. "We need to understand them better. That means finding their weaknesses and maybe even talking to them." Rachel suggested a risky plan. Beneath the ruins of Haven, sensors had detected strange energy readings. It could be nothing, or it could be important. If they sent a team to investigate, they might uncover more about the Vorthax. Admiral Lewis didn't like the idea. It was dangerous. But she knew they had no choice. "Prepare a small team," she ordered. "Make it quick and make it safe." The next day, Rachel volunteered to join the mission. William insisted on going too, along with a group of soldiers and engineers. They boarded a small scout ship and headed toward the ruins. As they descended, the sight was grim. Twisted metal and broken rocks floated in the void where Haven once stood. It felt like visiting a graveyard. The team landed near the source of the energy readings. Wearing suits to protect them from radiation, they explored the wreckage. It wasn't easy. Sharp debris floated everywhere, and the silence was eerie. But after hours of searching, they found something. A hidden archive buried deep within a piece of wreckage. The door was sealed, but Emma quickly hacked the controls, and it slid open with a hiss. Inside, the room glowed faintly with blue light. Walls lined with screens displayed images and text written in the Vorthax language. Rachel recognized some symbols from her earlier work. She started translating, her fingers flying over her tablet. What she discovered was chilling. The Vorthax weren't just attacking random planets. They were planning something bigger. A map on one screen showed Earth marked as their next target. William cursed under his breath. "If they hit Earth, it's over," he said. "We have to warn the fleet." But before they could leave, alarms blared. The Vorthax had found them. Black ships surrounded the area, their glowing veins pulsing faster than ever. The team scrambled back to their scout ship, but the enemy was closing in. William stayed behind to hold off the attackers, giving Rachel and the others time to escape. As the scout ship lifted off, Rachel looked out the window. William stood alone on the surface, firing at the approaching drones. He gave them a final salute before the screen went dark. Tears streamed down Rachel's face, but there was no time to grieve. They had a mission to complete and a message to deliver. Back on the Eclipse asterisk, Rachel handed the data to Admiral Lewis. The Vorthax's plan was clear now. Earth was in danger, and humanity had to act fast. For the first time, Rachel felt a spark of hope. They finally understood their enemy. Now, it was time to fight back, not just with weapons, but with intelligence, courage, and unity. The scout ship docked with the Eclipse asterisk, and Rachel rushed to deliver the data to Admiral Patricia Lewis. Her hands trembled as she handed over the tablet, her mind replaying William's final moments. He had sacrificed himself so the team could escape, and now his death weighed heavily on everyone. But there was no time for grief. Earth's survival depended on what they did next. Admiral Lewis reviewed the information quickly. The Vorthax's plan was worse than anyone had imagined. They weren't just attacking random colonies. They were systematically wiping out civilizations they deemed flawed. Earth was their next target, and if humanity didn't act fast, billions would die. The Admiral called an emergency meeting, gathering the fleet's top leaders. "We need a bold move," she said firmly. "Something that will give us the upper hand." Rachel spoke up, her voice shaky but determined. "There might be a way," she said. "From the archive, I found traces of dissent within the Vorthax ranks. Not all of them agree with this war. Some lower-tier drones seem conflicted." She hesitated, unsure how to explain it. "If we can reach those factions, maybe we can turn them against their own leaders." The room fell silent. It was a risky plan, dangerous even, but it was the only hope they had. Admiral Lewis nodded slowly. "We'll try it," she said. "But we'll need someone brave enough to go behind enemy lines. Someone who understands their language and can negotiate." Rachel volunteered immediately. She knew the mission was perilous, but she felt responsible. William had given his life for this information, and she wasn't about to let it go to waste. Admiral Lewis agreed, assigning a small team to accompany her. Among them was Emma Thompson, whose technical skills would be crucial in navigating Vorthax technology. The team disguised themselves using captured Vorthax armor and weapons. The suits were uncomfortable, pulsing faintly with energy, but they worked. Sensors couldn't tell the difference between the humans and the real Vorthax. Under the cover of darkness, they slipped into enemy territory aboard a stolen drone ship. What they saw inside the Vorthax stronghold was horrifying. Entire planets had been stripped bare, transformed into factories churning out more biomechanical ships. Billions of drones moved in perfect synchronization, building, repairing, and preparing for war. There were no signs of individuality or free will, only cold efficiency. Rachel felt sick looking at it, but she forced herself to focus. Their goal was to infiltrate the central database. If they could access it, they might find a way to disable the Vorthax fleet or sabotage their plans. The team moved carefully, sticking to shadows and avoiding patrols. Emma hacked into security systems, disabling cameras and unlocking doors. Every step brought them closer to their objective and closer to discovery. Finally, they'd reached the core chamber. A massive screen dominated the room, displaying maps, schematics, and commands. Rachel approached the console, her fingers flying over the controls as she translated the alien text. Slowly, pieces of the puzzle came together. The Vorthax operated on strict hierarchies, with lower-tier drones programmed to obey without question. But buried deep in the system were fragments of doubt, tiny glitches that hinted at rebellion. Emma noticed something else. The central database controlled the entire fleet. If they could overload it, they might cripple the Vorthax forces. But doing so would require staying behind to execute the hack and risking capture or worse. Rachel looked at her teammates, knowing what had to be done. "I'll stay," she said quietly. "You need to get back to the fleet and warn them." Emma protested, but Rachel wouldn't budge. "This is my fight," she said. "William gave his life for this. I won't let it be in vain." With tears in her eyes, Emma nodded and led the others out, leaving Rachel alone in the chamber. As the countdown began, Rachel sent one last message to the fleet. To all of humanity, she whispered into the comms, "We are not flawed. We are strong, creative, and united. Never forget that." Then, with a deep breath, she activated the hack. Explosions rocked the stronghold as systems overloaded. Alarms blared, and drones swarmed toward the chamber. Rachel stood her ground, watching the chaos unfold. She knew she wouldn't make it out alive, but she smiled anyway. Humanity had a fighting chance now, and that was worth everything. The explosion ripped through the Vorthax stronghold, sending shockwaves across their fleet. Ships faltered, their glowing veins dimming as systems failed. For a moment, chaos reigned among the enemy ranks. Drones froze mid-action, their programming disrupted by the overload Rachel had triggered. It was a small victory, but it gave the United Stellar Armada the opening they desperately needed. Back aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, Admiral Patricia Lewis received Rachel's final message. Her voice cracked slightly as she replayed it for the crew. To all of humanity, Rachel's voice said, calm but filled with resolve, "We are not flawed. We are strong, creative, and united. Never forget that." The bridge fell silent as the words sank in. Rachel had given her life to weaken the Vorthax, and now it was up to them to finish what she started. Admiral Lewis didn't waste a second. She ordered the fleet to advance, taking advantage of the confusion. Pilots flew their ships with precision, targeting the damaged Vorthax vessels. Explosions lit up the void as humanity struck back with everything they had. William Drake's training paid off. His squadron moved like a single unit, dodging enemy fire while delivering devastating blows. But the battle wasn't over yet. Though weakened, the Vorthax still outnumbered the USA 10-1. Their central command ship loomed in the distance, a massive structure bristling with weapons. If the humans wanted to win, they would have to destroy it. Admiral Lewis knew this was their only chance. She turned to her officers and issued a grim order. "Prepare a suicide squadron," she said. "We'll hit them where it hurts." Volunteers stepped forward without hesitation. Among them was Emma Thompson, who insisted on joining the mission. "I built these engines," she said firmly. "I know how to make them count." The admiral hesitated but finally agreed. Emma joined a group of brave pilots, each knowing they wouldn't return. The suicide squadron launched under the cover of the ongoing battle. Their ships were loaded with explosives, designed to detonate on impact. As they approached the command ship, the Vorthax defenses roared to life, firing beams of energy at the incoming attackers. One by one, ships exploded, but the survivors pressed on, driven by determination and sacrifice. Emma's ship led the charge. Her hands gripped the controls tightly as alarms blared around her. "Stay focused," she muttered to herself, guiding her vessel toward the heart of the enemy fortress. Behind her, the remaining ships formed a protective barrier, drawing fire so she could reach her target. Finally, Emma's ship breached the outer defenses. With seconds to spare, she activated the self-destruct sequence and steered straight into the command ship's core. A blinding flash erupted as her vessel collided, tearing through the structure like a spear. Secondary explosions rippled outward, consuming the entire command ship in a fiery inferno. The destruction sent shockwaves through the Vorthax fleet. Leaderless and disoriented, the remaining ships began retreating, disappearing into the depths of space. Cheers erupted across the USA fleet, but there was no celebration, only relief. Humanity had won, but the cost had been unimaginable. Admiral Lewis stood quietly on the bridge, watching the wreckage drift away. Rachel's message echoed in her mind. "We are strong, creative, and united." She repeated the words softly, feeling both pride and sorrow. So many lives had been lost, but their sacrifices had saved billions more. As the fleet regrouped, preparations began for the journey home. Earth awaited them, eager to hear the story of their victory. But Admiral Lewis knew the galaxy would never be the same. The scars of this war would linger, and humanity would need to remain vigilant. Still, she allowed herself a small smile. They had faced an impossible enemy and emerged stronger than ever. For the first time in months, hope felt real again. The journey back to Earth was quiet. The United Stellar Armada moved slowly, its ships battered but still flying. Many crew members sat in silence, replaying the battle in their minds. They had won, but the victory felt heavy. Too many lives had been lost. Rachel Meyer, Emma Thompson, William Drake, and countless others who had given everything to protect humanity. Their names would never be forgotten. When the fleet finally reached Earth, the planet erupted in celebration. Cities lit up with fireworks, and crowds gathered in streets and squares. Screens displayed images of the returning ships, and people cheered for the heroes who had saved them. But amidst the joy, there was also mourning. Memorials were built to honor those who had died, and moments of silence were held across the globe. President Laura Bennett stood before a massive crowd in New York City. Her voice rang out as she addressed the world. "Today, we celebrate survival," she said. "But more than that, we celebrate unity. Humanity faced an enemy stronger and older than us, and we stood together. We proved that our strength lies not just in weapons or technology, but in our ability to care for one another." Rachel's final message became a rallying cry for Earth. "We are strong, creative, and united." These words appeared on banners, T-shirts, and even tattoos. People embraced them as a reminder of what they had overcome. Slowly, life began to return to normal. But it wasn't the same normal as before. The war had changed everyone. In the ruins of Haven, a memorial was built. It was called the Beacon of Hope, a towering structure made of glass and steel. Inside, holograms showed images of the Enclave's vibrant past, its cities, its people, its dreams. At the center stood a plaque engraved with Rachel's name and her last message. Visitors came from all over the galaxy to pay their respects, leaving flowers and tokens of gratitude. Back on Earth, President Bennett announced the formation of the Galactic Alliance. This new organization invited alien civilizations to join forces with humanity. Not everyone trusted aliens after the Vorthax attack, but Bennett argued that isolation wouldn't keep Earth safe. "We can't shut ourselves off from the universe," she said. "If we want peace, we must build bridges, not walls." To everyone's surprise, some species accepted the invitation. Though wary at first, they recognized humanity's courage and resilience. Trade agreements were signed, and cultural exchanges began. For the first time, Earth truly became part of the galactic community. Among those who worked tirelessly to foster these relationships was Daniel Carter, the former leader of Haven. He had survived the attack and now dedicated his life to preventing future tragedies. "Haven taught us how fragile peace can be," he often said. "But it also showed us what we're capable of when we work together." As months turned into years, Earth rebuilt itself stronger than ever. Factories once used to build warships now produced tools for exploration. Scientists focused on discovering new worlds instead of preparing for battles. Humanity looked to the stars with hope rather than fear. One evening, Daniel stood on a hill overlooking the city. The sky shimmered with stars, each one a reminder of how far they had come. He thought about Rachel, Emma, and William. Their sacrifices had made this possible. Though they were gone, their legacy lived on in every child who dreamed of space, in every scientist who sought answers, and in every diplomat who worked for peace. Daniel smiled faintly as he gazed upward. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but humanity was ready to face them. Together, they had proven that even in the darkest times, light could shine through. And so, with hope in their hearts, they took their first steps toward a brighter future.